I wrote down a bunch of names here, and I'm gonna tell you who I think is the most likely candidate, and it might shock you. If the Bengals remove off of Zac Taylor, which I think is on the table if they miss the playoffs. So I wrote down some names: Brian Flores, Bill Belichick, Kevin Stefanski, Kyle Shanahan. If he is out the door in San Francisco, I have an department, which is Joe Brady, Eric Bieniemy, Bobby Slowick, and then obviously you have the sexy name in Ben Johnson. I think the most realistic choice here is Bill Belichick. I do. I do.
Bill Belichick.
Yeah. And let me tell you why.
Okay.
He comes in automatically with a staff assembled. He already comes in automatically with a staff assembled. Him and Mike Brown already have a very good relationship, right? They dealt with each other. Bengals were one of the only primary teams that traded with the New England Patriots during their time. Bill Belichick has spoke glowingly of Mike Brown's father, glowingly about Mike Brown's father and Paul Brown and how great of a football mind he had. And he talked about how his love of how the Bengals sort of operated in their first class family organization. Something that's interesting too is here Bill Belichick wanted Darren Simmons to be um, Darren Simmons. Darren Simmons already. I'm sorry, Bill Belichick wanted to work with Darren Simmons. Bill Belichick actually tried to get Darren Simmons to be the special teams coordinator in New England once the Bengals moved over from Marvin Lewis, and the Bengals blocked it. Um, I think Bill Belichick makes the most sense here because you would be able to keep your longtime special teams coordinator in place in Darren Simmons. You already know Josh McDaniels is coming as the offensive coordinator. Matt Patricia is coming as the defensive coordinator, or his son might come as well and help. I really believe Bill Belichick, and you also get past the Duke Tobin thing. I don't love the way Bill Belichick drafts. I don't love his organizational control, but I think that there is a realistic possibility in which Bill Belichick would want the opportunity to coach a Joe Burrow. And let me be honest with you, after this fiasco of hiring a new coach, I don't think a Ben Johnson is realistic for the Bengals. I don't think the Bengals are going to go out there and hire a first-time head coach. Anybody that the Bengals look to hire, um, anybody that the Bengals look to hire, it will be somebody who has done it before. I believe that wholeheartedly. You know, regardless of people think he would bring structure here, he would bring know-how. And you have to ask yourself, do you think Josh McDaniels, not the head coach, but the play caller, is better than a Zac Taylor as a play caller? And I think the answer unequivocally is yes.
Yes.
I think you say that. I think you lose something at the defensive coordinator position with Matt Patricia versus a Lou Anarumo personally, but I still think you have that. I think the Bengals defense probably changes to a 3-4 defense stylistically under Matt Patricia. It'll look different. It would really look drastically different. But to me, I just don't know if I understand Joe Burrow, and I believe Joe Burrow will have his hand in who the new head coach would be if they were to move off of Zach. And I just don't know if a Joe Brady does it for the team. You got to ask yourself, how much is it Joe Brady or how much is it just having a freaking freak at the quarterback position in Josh Allen? And those are the honest questions you have to ask yourself. You have to ask yourself, is he ready?
Brady he did his thing at LSU with him.
He did, but he was the passing game coordinator. He wasn't calling the plays. That was Steve Eichenheimer. And I think that kind of gets lost in it because he's a young guy. He was super young at the time. And it was, I think he did wind up calling a play one point in time when Steve lost, had a loss in his family. But I think that there's so much. I think there's so much that goes into the new potential head coach and stuff like that. And you have to ask yourself, how much of this roster are you losing? I think that it would be losing a Troy Walters would suck personally for the receiver room, right? He's a great guy. Would he want to move on to a potential offense coordinator position for all the great work he's done at the wide receiver position here? I don't know. Bobby Slowick is another name that's been thrown out there.
The under center game doesn't match up with Joe though. Right. Like he's got to go under center. Like all of his stuff is all off the play action.
Right. Guys, and I hope y'all know, like I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart, I really don't know if Zach survives this season if they miss the playoffs. And I'm not just saying that because we're on a show and I want you guys to tune in. The fact of the matter is Bill Belichick wants to coach again. He tried to coach last year. This isn't a thing of he didn't want to coach in the National Football
He's
League. He has a
thirsty.
chip on his shoulder. He wants to prove that he could win again without Tom Brady, just like Tom Brady proved that he could win without him. I don't know about you guys, but I wouldn't mind. The media probably would hate him, but I wouldn't mind having a guy who has a couple of Super Bowls to his name. I wouldn't mind having a guy that brings that championship acumen and a guy that we already know Mike Brown has a lot of respect for. I think that right now what this organization needs is structure from the head coaching position. You need somebody that's able to lead effectively, and somebody that's able to field winners. That's just my thoughts.
Daniel.
Yeah, man. I'm with you. I think so.
Are you laughing at Bill Belichick?
No. I'm with him on that, actually. Just to break down. So for me, I'm with you. I think the overall sentiment, I kind of went back and forth with this. If you're getting rid of Zac Taylor, you need a culture guy. You need a guy who's done it before. And I think that's where the Bobby Slowick, Cliff Kingsbury, the Ben Johnson, I'm okay off of those guys for now, just because I need somebody that's going to step in and the locker room, boom, respects. I need somebody, because respectfully, this is a team, any dude who wants a head coaching gig, obviously you have to deal with the organization, but your eyes light up when you see Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. And that's what this Bengals problem is. It's about the organization. So I think that if I'm looking at these head coaching gigs, I really like the Brian Flores. I think that Brian Flores is a guy that could step in here. I like Mike Vrabel. Those are two guys that are, really well respected that could come in. And I look at the Dan Campbell situation, right? Dan Campbell went in there. He was on the same page with the GM, but he was a rah-rah guy. He's the guy that the locker room rallied behind. The Bill Belichick thing, the only issue with that is, will the organization be okay with putting him in the front office? And if they are, you step in. We saw what he did with Tom Brady, and we've discussed Joe Burrow and the similarities to a Tom Brady. We've discussed
They might be right up their alley. I'm sorry to cut you off. It might be right up their alley, though, right? Because Bill is in a situation where he gained that autonomy over time. He didn't just come in right with that. That's why Nick Castellanos left to become the Texans. I'm sorry, Nick Caserio. I said Nick Castellanos. Nick Caserio left to go be the Texans general manager because he wanted a raw opportunity. The Bengals don't have a general manager right now as it is.
Yeah,
they don't. So if Bill came in, he'd be working in tandem with someone. It wouldn't be a thing of. But Duke Tobin, right? Let's call it what it is. Duke Tobin's not the general manager of the Bengals. He's the director of player personnel. It's very easy for the Bengals to slot somebody in as the general manager without moving on from a Duke Tobin. Because you could just say, oh, Duke was never the general manager. He was the director of player personnel. We're adding to the front office organizational structure. We're adding someone with the general manager title. It's very, very simple. And that's the way it works, right?
You sold me on Bill Belichick. When I came into this conversation, you sold me on Bill Belichick already. And I started thinking back, Bill be doing that show with Ocho and like their banter between each other on the NFL network or whatever.
Yep.
He said some things about the Bengals offense, and he said some things a couple different times. Him and what's bro with those big old teeth, the Jets' old defensive coordinator. Oh my
Rex
God.
Ryan?
Yeah, Rex Ryan. Those two always have a lot of thoughts on the Bengals or whatever. You know what I mean? And by you saying that, and then I remember the dude that covers NFL and NBA, the white guy that there's the reporter, I can't think of his name now. He's like a Bulls fan. But he's hinted at Bill Belichick as well too.
Bill Johnson. Bill. I know you're talking about.
Bill something.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, Bill whatever. He's hinted at Bill Belichick to the Bengals too. And I guess in my mind, I was like, I think his drafts are so bad. If I could get past that part, just the coaching aspect of we're no nonsense. Let's get it, bro. Bill Belichick will make sure, if y'all know his background, he will make sure that special teams and whatever's going on, not even just Evan McPherson, he would set up Burrow in the same spot that how Burrow did in 2021 and 2022. He would make sure that he sets up these alley-oops, because in the game, I want to talk about a little bit. Burrow sets up two good alley-oops. Those are two 50-yard drives. And he sets them up with a great alley-oop, and McPherson just misses both those kicks. If he makes one of those kicks, there's an argument you probably win. If he makes both, I think we win. There's not enough time on the clock. Like all these different things like that, right? And that's a big problem right now for us. And I think Bill Belichick solves that.
Also, outside of Zac Taylor, there's only been one coach that has really had Andy Reid's number his entire career. Bill Belichick. There's also only been one coach that's notoriously.
Don't get me. You get me hyped up over here, man.
I'm just being honest.
I don't want to do this with you. Don't you get me hyped up like this week 11 and then
I think that Joe Burrow and Bill Belichick would feed fucking families. And I'll go a step further. I think that there's no other job that would be enticing for a Bill Belichick other than Cincinnati. There, I said it. I think that there will be no other job that'd be more enticing for Cincinnati.
Daniel,
I think the ones that he
clip. Who's clipping stuff right here? I need that clip right there. And I also need the guy that says, Matt cost me $1K off a parlay, you little bitch. I need those two things clipped because to me, that's the show. Man. What are we doing there? Like that's the whole show right there. Like Bill Belichick will feed fucking families, and this guy is angry that Matt cost him $1K off his parlay.
Listen, all I'm going to say, man, is y'all are crazy to think it's not tampering. To think that Mike Brown can't have a conversation with Bill Belichick. Now, like, right now, he can talk to the guy right now. The family understands they want to win a championship for Mike. Mike Brown's about to turn 90. Mike Brown's about to turn 90. They understand it's now. They need to figure out a way to win now. I don't believe Zac Taylor has the leash that that Marvin Lewis has, and I'll go a step further. And I don't think that Joe Burrow would be against a Bill Belichick.
No,
coming to the coach of the Bengals. I think that it would be you get the greatest head coach of all time with a quarterback that's in his prime, that's playing at an elite level. It makes too much sense.